One last very powerful action item that you can take around fear is to normalize what your fear is pointing to on a bigger level. So, for example, one of my big fears for a long time was publishing my podcast. I was just so nervous about what people would think and who am I to do something like this? What am I adding to the conversation? And it just went on and on. And when I looked at that, I thought, what is this really pointing to? And I realized it was really just this bigger fear of visibility. The podcast happened to be the one channel that my brain was focused on right now. But if I looked at it, that existed with starting my business, with having a dream to write a book, with going on stages, with even little things in my daily life. I was really scared of people's opinions and feeling like too visible because it made me feel unsafe. So same thing for you. Think about, what is your fear? You probably have one specific channel related to your dream that you're seeing it, but what is the overarching fear in other areas of your life? The reason this is powerful is because you can then start to practice in little, less heated ways. So for example, once I realized I had this fear of visibility, I could go and practice taking up space and being visible in less high stakes areas. I could go to the weight section at the gym where, surprise, surprise, I also felt uncomfortable being visible and taking up space, and I could practice being visible. I remember there was this one walk I used to avoid where I lived at the time along the river because I just felt like all the restaurants lined it and I just was like, I don't want to be just out in front of everyone that's sitting and eating and dining. So simple and small, right? But this really pervaded a lot of areas of my life. And so I began using that as a practice zone of being like, I can go out and I can take action and I can walk and be seen by all these people. I began raising my hand and being the first to say something on a Zoom call. So that allowed me to practice in all those lower stakes areas that may have seemed small to anyone else, but that to me, every single time we're building the muscle of I can show up and it's safe to do so. It made it a lot easier for the bigger things like actually writing a book, having a podcast, starting a business, being on social media, like that actually moved my dreams forward in much bigger ways. So the same thing could be true for you. What's your dream? What are you afraid of? How does it relate to a bigger, more overarching fear? But then also, what are the smaller ways that you could practice getting more, reps in, but in lower stakes areas, so that when you do show up in bigger ways, you're like, I got this. I've been practicing this every day. This is nothing, or at least a lot less.